Yes, we are now going up the wall of our bag. Look, we have knitted our single needles in 4 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. We have knitted our single needles by inserting them all once. Now we are at the last point. We are at the end of our 4th row. After this row, we start to build our model. Now, in the meantime, we go up by pulling a 123 chain. We wrapped it around the head of the tack. Look, the point we slid is the point where the chain is. Now we are going backwards after 13 chains. After wrapping the tack around the head, we are going backwards. Look, not to the sliding space, but to a scroll space. We sink into the next space backwards. That is, we sink into the top space of the last single needle we knitted and remove a stitch from this point. We have 3 stitches. We loop them together. We pull them together. We knit a double handrail. We accept a handrail in the chain in between. See, we crossed it like this. We fill it, leaving a space at the beginning of our crochet hook and filling it. We are knitting a double handrail by sinking into the next one. We wrapped both of them together. Now we are filling them again at the beginning of the handrail. Look at the gap we skipped. We left it empty. Now we left a gap here and knitted the next handrail. Now we are making a loop by sinking into the top space of the single needle we skipped backwards. We are knitting a double handrail, both together. It is necessary to lengthen the stitch a little while knitting the second cross stitch, which is facing backwards. We fill it again. We leave a space at the beginning of our team. We sink into the next space and remove the stitch. We have 3 stitches. We wrap them together again. We knit the 2 stitches together. By sinking in the right direction, we make a loop and lengthen it sufficiently. We wrap them together again. By pulling both together, we have established the first row of our model. Let's do it once again. We leave a gap, sink into the next gap, and fill the double handrail at the beginning. By sinking into the gap, we jumped backwards. We make a loop, lengthen it enough, and knit a double handrail. We continue in this way until the end of the row. We completed our turn. We are at the last point. Look, we left a gap here and knitted a handrail for the next one. We fill the head of our crochet hook. We sink backwards into the space we left and weave a double handrail. Now we had 3 chains here. We have our first cross on the banister where we sink backwards. We won't sink into the middle of the 3rd chain here. Look, the point where we will sink here will be the headspace of the handrail. We sink to this point, remove the stitch, and shift it from the other stitch. And this is how we complete our row. Now we go up with 3 chains. We are filling it on the head of the cross. The next points we will look at are the middle parts of this cross. The next thing we will look at are the middle parts of these crosses. We will not look at the remaining points in between. After 3 chains, we are filling the head of the cross. Look, by sinking right into the middle of the cross and moving backwards. We are knitting a double handrail. We wrapped it around the head of our crochet hook. We sink into the middle part of the next cross and knit a double handrail. We wrapped it around the head of our crochet hook. Look, we will not use the space between the remaining crosses. Now we will sink backwards. Here we sink into the handrail gap where we remove the 3 chains. Look, we are making a double handrail in the space in the middle of the cross. Since there is a chain here, the full cross part will be clearly understood as follows. Now we continue. We got around. Look at the next cross. We leave the space here and sink into the next space right in the middle of the cross and fill it with a double rail. Look back, we had already sunk on the cross. We are already filling this gap by sinking into a railing. We knit a double handrail. We sink backwards and create our cross. Let's do it again. We sink into the headspace of the next multiplier. We wrapped it backwards, sinking into the headspace of the multiplier we had sunk before, and knitting a double handrail. See our model. We have set it up like this. Now let's complete this row. We will continue to the next row together. We are close to the end. We are knitting by sinking backwards and extending our handrails. If you knit the handrails for a long time, it would look better. Now look, there is the last cross here. It has been sunk before. We are knitting double handrails by sinking into this point. Look back, we are knitting a double handrail by sinking into the middle of the crossbar. Now while we are joining our rows, look at the first handrail we have knitted, sinking into the headspace. We slide it. Look, the joining will be like this. Then we repeat the same process. 1, 2, 3. We go up with the chain. We wrap it around the beginning of our row, sink to the middle point of the cross, and wrap it with a double handrail. We put a double handrail in the top space of the next cross. We wrapped it backwards before. Look, it's sunk. 3 chains are sunk to the middle point of the multiplier that we removed and dipped it backwards. Double crochet. We continue to knit our model in this way. We proceed in exactly the same way. Let's knit a little bit to make our crosses so that the model can be understood more clearly. Quickly. Look, this is our model. We will raise the wall of our bag enough by creating crosses like this. After we raise it enough, we will finish it by knitting it with single crochet as we did at the beginning, just like we did in the beginning. You can also make it from different types of yarn than raffia. Now this way I raise my wall high enough. Afterwards, we will continue knitting together. We have now raised the wall of our bag high enough. After the single crochet row, we knitted our cross stitches for a total of 13 rows. Now look, let's connect the last dot together once again. After knitting the last point here, we remove the loop by sinking into the top space of the first handrail and slide it from the other loop. Pull a chain here and see. We knit a single crochet by sinking into the top space of the first handrail. Then we sink into the next space, single crochet, and continue in the form of single crochet to the next space. Look, we have 12 handrail spaces here. We will complete this row by knitting a single crochet in each handrail space. In this way, we knit 1 single crochet in each and move on to the end of the row. We are at the end of our row. We knit 1 single crochet in our last space. We sink into the top space of the first single crochet and move up with a chain. Look again, there is no difference. We sink into the top space where each single crochet is and knit 1 single crochet. We are knitting needles like this. We will make 4 rows of single needles. Then we will continue to knit together. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows in total. We knitted our single needles in this way. At the last point, we sink and knit our single needles and look. We will make a binding here. After the last single needles, we cut our thread. Let's take our scissors. We have cut our rope to the inside and we are taking it out of our knowledge. And see, we insert our thread into the headspace of the first single crochet from back to front. And from this point where the thread comes, we get our rope inside again. Look like this. We have finished our work. Now let's hide this rope quickly. I'm slightly bored, so I hide it quickly. And here I cut the excess thread. Now we have completed the knitting process of our bag. Look, this is our bag. Side part. Now we will close the mouth of our bag and start sewing and knitting the handle part. We take our rope to close the mouth of our bag. Again we knit number 3. After leaving a little bit of rope, we will start pulling the chain. In this way I tighten the first stitch and I will pull enough chains. The number does not matter at all. We will pull our chains in this way until we can tie the mouth part. Then we will move on to closing the mouth part. We've pulled our chains long enough. At this point, pull those important chains too hard. If your chain increases and becomes too much for your eyes, you can cut it off later. But if you pull it incompletely, it will be difficult to complete the chain later. Let's pull our chains too much. It doesn't matter if it is long, we will have the opportunity to shorten it later. Now at this point, after pulling our chains like this, I leave enough rope at the end as I left at the beginning. And here I'm taking out my rope and tightening this point now. I'll pack the bottom of my bag. This place is important again. I adjust it so that the edge part, the end part, remains on the edge. Look, I'm starting from the left side like this. We will fold the edge 3 times. The right side will also consist of 6 layers by folding the right and left 3 times. We will adjust this by eye. Look once, 2 or 3 times, then I come to this side, and here again I'll have folded it 2 and 3 times. Of course, we'll adjust this now. Let's quickly sink and adjust. Yes, we said it this way. Now here too, like this. I had silicone-free hook. It is important that it is silicone-free so that I can insert it inside easily. Look here like this. I pass my hook through the point where there is a second row and a second row of single crochet. Where should I attach the ropes? I also make sure that these pieces are in the second row. Look, I fixed it this way. Now I will do the same to the other side. These are my rows, by the way. One is number 3.5 and the other is number 3. Yes, we have arranged it this way. Let's take a closer look at our bag. After folding the mouth part like this, we will now pass our chains through these points. Now, it is very important to use these 2 crochet hooks here, because look, we left a thread of 10 centimeters, which is enough when starting and finishing. Now let's start these ropes from the right side first. I attach this thread to the end of my hook. I attach the end of the rope I left short to my hook. Now I pull out the end of this rope from every gap I sink into. Since I left a thin thread with the crochet tip, it will be easy to remove them one by one. Pass it one by one. Look, after removing the end of the rope, it will be very easy to pull the chain. These single crochet spaces are already In this way, as our rope goes in and out, it will loosen and soften. It seems a little harsh right now. Now look, I apply the same process to the other part. Look at our bag. We close the mouth part. Now we will make a key point here. We will knit. Then we will complete this point by attaching tassels to the ends of our chains. That's why I take my bag aside. I got my rope again. My crochet hook is number 3 again. At this point, I start knitting by pulling a chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chains after locking my first chain. After pulling, we will leave the 6th chain and use the back part here. Look, we will leave the 6th chain and sink into the V chain at the back line points. We remove the stitch and knit a single crochet. Look, these dots line the lines behind this chain. We knit single needle and we will have 5 single needles in total, 2, 4, and the last one we knit 5. The starting skirt part and the ending point are the same. There will be those who remember that we have used this technique before. Now we are stretching our stitch without pulling the chain. We are turning our knitting. We are sinking into the first space that comes up, removing the stitch and knitting single crochet. We are sinking into the next space and knitting single crochet again. We knit 1 single crochet in each space. We have 5 single crochets again. Now look at the last point. We are knitting in the last space. And single needle again. We stretch our light stitches and turn our knitting. We continue to knit by sinking into the first gap that comes to mind. Now we have knitted 11 rows of single needles in this way. We have completed 11 rows of single crochet consisting of 5 single crochets by turning them. Now look at this point by combining the 2 end parts in the middle. Look, we will sew at this point. We will connect the 2 ends and complete this point by sewing. Now look at where we finished. We fold our yarn from the point we finished, fold our knitting, first find the joining point in the middle, see. I will join this part, this space, the middle part, to this point. I will join one to this side and the other to this side. Right there, yes. Subscribe, subscribe. Good. Look, we have sewn this point like this. Now our rope will stay here again, this point. Well, look, we're bringing it. Now we're going to move towards this side. Our loop is at this point again. Now we're shifting sideways like this, sinking this way. Let's take the tip of our needle to this point. At the other end, let's remove the stitch from this point and slide it from the other stitch, then to the gaps that come again. This is how we perform the sinking and sewing process, like on the other side. At this point too. Look, we have sewn each other now. We will pull a chain at the end point and tie this chain to this point. We cut our rope here enough. We climbed our rope and we'll tie it to this point, to the point where we first started. We're going through this again. Look, if I do it this way, it will be clearer. The other two crochets are also. I pass through these gaps. And I'm going to tie these two strings here. I tie knots twice, and now I will hide these threads nicely. And here's the remaining rope. I'm cutting it out. Now the reason why I put my crochet hook on again is that I have put both my crochet hooks on. We have created a lock device here. Now look, I have two chain ends here. It's the same system we mounted on our bag. We insert our hook, pass our thread through this gap, take out our chain, and remove the spacer. We take the other chain end. We attach the thread we left thin and the thread we did not knit to the end of our crochet hook. Pass this thread through this point, take out our crochet hook, and place the chain part. And now at this point, let's straighten our bag. By the way, we also had the rope left behind. This is how we place it. Now we will make the tassels that we will attach to the end of our chains. Let's straighten our bag. It turns out quite nice. It's an easy method, but if you wish, you can use ready-made leather devices. It's entirely up to your taste, but this is also quite easy to do. Now we can move on to making the ends into tassels.